He opened his eyes this morning and her name was already there, waiting for him in the space between sleep and waking. Not a dream, not a memory trying to surface. Just her name, clear and present, like someone had whispered directly into his soul while the world was still dark. He laid there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of something he couldn't name pressing against his chest. It's been so long since they existed in each other's lives. Months that stretched into seasons, seasons that became years, and yet today, right now, in this ordinary Tuesday morning, she's everywhere. He pours his coffee and sees her smile and the steam rising from the cup. He watches the sunrise and remembers how she used to say that every dawn was a universe giving us permission to start again. He sits in the silence of his apartment and feels the echo of conversations they never finished, words that dissolved before they could take shape. He tries to convince himself this is nothing, that brains are strange and memories are mischievous, that there's probably some psychological explanation for why someone from your past suddenly occupies every corner of your present awareness. But here's what logic can't explain. The feeling isn't just memory, it's presence. It's as if some invisible thread that was cut long ago has suddenly been pulled taut again, and he can feel the vibration of it humming through his entire being. Have you ever experienced this? That moment when someone who shouldn't matter anymore somehow becomes the loudest thought in your mind? When their energy, their essence, their name breaks through every distraction and lands right in the center of your chest like they never left. This isn't random. The universe doesn't work in accidents. Every thought that persists, every name that echoes, every face that appears in your mind's eye when you're trying to focus on anything else carries a message, a meaning, a reason for showing up exactly when it does. He doesn't understand it yet, but something is shifting, something ancient and knowing inside him is waking up, recognizing a signal that his logical mind wants to dismiss. Because here's the truth that terrifies us. We're never as separate from each other as we pretend to be. Distance doesn't erase connection. Time doesn't dissolve the bonds we forge at a soul level. And when the universe decides it's time for two energies to acknowledge each other again, it doesn't send a text message or an email. It sends something far more undeniable. It sends a feeling, a knowing, a name that won't stop resonating. And today, for reasons he can't explain, her name found him. And now, he has to decide what to do with that information. Because ignoring the universe is possible, but it comes with a cost. The cost of always wondering. What if that whisper meant something? What if I was supposed to pay attention? There's a language older than words, more honest than anything we speak out loud, and most of us have forgotten how to hear it. It's the language of energy, of frequency, of souls calling to each other across distances that seem impossible to cross. Science will tell you that everything is energy vibrating at different speeds, that nothing in this universe is truly solid, that we're all waves and particles dancing in an infinite field of possibility. But what science doesn't always tell you is what the mystics have known forever. When two energies have touched, really touched at a depth that goes beyond surface interaction, they remain entangled. They remain connected. And when one thinks of the other, when one calls out in longing or regret or simple remembering, the other feels it. Maybe not consciously, maybe not immediately, but they feel it. He doesn't know this yet, but somewhere, perhaps in a city he's never visited or a life he can't imagine, she's been carrying him in her thoughts. Maybe it started yesterday, maybe it started weeks ago, but at some point, his name began appearing in her mind during quiet moments. Maybe she's been looking through old photographs, or maybe a song played that transported her back to a time when they existed in the same space, breathing the same air, creating memories that would outlast their time together. Maybe she spoke his name out loud to a friend, or maybe she just held it silently in her heart, wondering if he ever thinks of her, if he ever feels the ghost of what they were. And that energy, that focused attention, that emotional frequency she's been broadcasting doesn't just disappear into the void. It travels. It finds its target. It lands exactly where it's meant to land. This is how the universe works when we stop trying to control it with logic and allow ourselves to feel the mysterious intelligence that governs all connection. Every person you've ever loved, every soul you've ever touched, leaves an imprint on your energy field. And you on theirs. These aren't metaphors. These aren't poetic exaggerations. This is the actual mechanics of how consciousness operates in reality. where separation is the illusion and connection is the truth. When her name appeared in his awareness this morning, it wasn't his brain randomly firing neurons. It was her energy reaching across whatever distance separates them, knocking on the door of his consciousness, saying, "I'm still here. I still remember. You still matter." And his soul heard it before his mind could rationalize it away. This is what we've forgotten in our modern world obsessed with proof and evidence and things we can measure. We've forgotten that the most real things can't be seen or touched or photographed. They can only be felt. And if you've ever had someone's name suddenly consume your thoughts for no apparent reason, if you've ever felt the unmistakable presence of someone who isn't physically there, then you already know this truth. You've already experienced the language. You've already received the transmission. The only question is, will you honor it or will you pretend it means nothing? But here's what makes this moment even more profound, even more necessary. Her name appearing now isn't really about her at all. It's about him. It's about the part of himself he buried when they ended, the truths he swallowed, the words he never said because timing felt wrong or fear felt right. Every person who enters our life serves as a mirror, reflecting back aspects of ourselves we need to see, aspects we're avoiding, aspects we're finally ready to integrate. And when that person's name suddenly dominates your consciousness after long silence, the universe is handing you that mirror again, saying, "Look closer, you're ready now. You're strong enough now to face what you ran from." He closed that chapter quickly, didn't he? Maybe too quickly. Maybe he told himself it was a mature thing to do, the logical choice, the path of least resistance. Maybe he convinced himself that walking away was an act of wisdom, when really it was an act of self-protection. Maybe he never told her how deeply she affected him. Maybe he never admitted that she terrified him precisely because she mattered so much. Maybe he left before she could leave him. Maybe he burned the bridge before he could be abandoned on it. We do this, don't we? We end things before they can end us. We create distance before distance can be created for us. We protect ourselves so thoroughly that we never have to risk being truly seen, truly vulnerable, truly available for the kind of love or connection that could actually transform us. And then years pass and we wonder why we feel so empty, so disconnected, so unable to let anyone really reach us. It's because we're still carrying all those unfinished stories, all those conversations we never had, all those truths we never spoke. Her name today is a summons, not to her, but to himself, to the part of him that knows he's been hiding, to the part that knows he's capable of more depth, more courage, more honesty than he's been willing to offer. This is the universe giving him a chance to complete what was left incomplete, not necessarily with her, but within himself. Because maybe the real gift of her reappearing in his awareness isn't about reconnecting with her at all. Maybe it's about reconnecting with a version of himself who was capable of feeling that deeply, of being moved that profoundly, of caring that intensely. Maybe he's been playing it safe for so long that he forgot what it feels like to be truly alive, truly open, truly willing to let someone matter. And her name is the key that unlocks the door he thought he'd seal forever. The door to his own heart. The door to his own capacity for real connection. The door to his own truth. So when her name won't leave his mind today, when it keeps circling back no matter how many distractions he creates, it's not torment, it's invitation. It's a universe saying, you're ready now, you've grown now, you've learned now. It's time to face what you've been avoiding. It's time to become the person who doesn't run anymore. And this is where it gets truly beautiful, truly mysterious, truly aligned with forces bigger than any individual choice or mistake. Because nothing, absolutely nothing in this infinite intelligent universe happens without sacred timing. Every meeting is orchestrated. Every separation is necessary. Every reunion is divinely scheduled. He's not the same person who walked away from her or who she walked away from. The time between then and now hasn't been empty or wasted. It's been transformational. Pain has carved him into someone deeper. Loss has taught him what truly matters. Solitude has shown him who he is when no one's watching, when there's no one to perform for, when he has to face himself in the mirror of his own soul. He's been broken open and rebuilt. He's learned lessons that could only be learned in the fire of his own becoming. And maybe, just maybe, she's been on her own journey too. Maybe she's been transformed by her own trials, her own revelations, her own dark nights where she had to choose between growing or staying small. Maybe the person she was couldn't have received what he's now capable of giving. Maybe the person he was couldn't have cherished what she's now capable of offering. Timing isn't about clocks or calendars. It's about readiness. It's about two souls evolving separately until they're vibrating at frequencies that can actually harmonize, that can actually create something sustainable and real. When two people are meant to reconnect, the universe doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready or certain. It simply begins arranging the signs. It plants thoughts that won't leave. It creates a magnetic pull that says, "Look here, pay attention." Something's shifting. It orchestrates the invisible until it becomes undeniable in the visible. And her name resonating with him today, out of nowhere, with this particular intensity, at this specific moment in his evolution, this isn't coincidence. This is a universe saying, the time is now, not to go backward and repeat old patterns, not to resurrect something that ended for good reasons, but to see each other with new eyes, to meet as the people you become rather than the people you were, to explore whether the connection that once existed is transformed into something that can actually thrive now that you both know more, feel deeper, understand better. Second chances aren't about getting back what you lost. They're about discovering what's possible now that you've both grown. They're about honoring that the connection was real, that it mattered, that it left marks on both your souls, and that maybe, just maybe, those marks were preparation for this moment, for the chance to try again, for the opportunity to show up fully where you once showed up partially, for the gift of bringing your whole selves to something that once only had access to your protected, defended, incomplete selves. And if that's what's happening here, if that's what her name is announcing, then this moment isn't an ending. It's a beginning disguised as a memory. It's a doorway opening exactly when both people are finally capable of walking through it. So here he stands at the crossroads between logic and mystery, between safety and possibility, between the life he's built on certainty and the life that's calling from the unknown. What does he do with this? What does anyone do when a universe speaks in whispers that can't be proven but can't be denied? Does he reach out? Does he send a message that might seem random to her but feels cosmically significant to him? Does he trust this pull, this resonance, this undeniable sense that her name appearing now means something beyond his understanding? Or does he honor the silence? Does he recognize that not every spiritual signal requires physical action? Does he understand that sometimes the universe brings people back into our awareness not to reconnect with them, but to reconnect with parts of ourselves they awakened? The answer isn't simple, because the real question isn't about her at all. The real question is about him, about who he's become, about whether he's learned to trust the invisible intelligence that governs all true connection, about whether he's brave enough now to listen when the universe speaks in frequencies his logical mind can't decode, but his soul understands perfectly. Has he evolved enough to know that some things can't be explained, only experienced? That some connections transcend the rules we make about how relationships should work, how time should heal, how moving on should look? Has he grown into someone who can hold mystery without needing to solve it, who can sit with uncertainty without collapsing into fear, who can trust that if he's meant to reach out, the next sign will be even clearer, and if he's meant to keep this internal, the piece of that choice will feel undeniable? Because here's what's actually happening in this moment. The universe isn't just bringing her back into his awareness. It's testing him. It's asking, have you learned to trust me? Have you learned to distinguish between ego wanting what's familiar and soul recognizing what's true? Have you learned that courage isn't always about taking action? Sometimes it's about having the strength to wait, to listen, to allow the next step to reveal itself without forcing it. And whatever he chooses, whether he reaches out or doesn't, whether she responds or doesn't, whether this leads to reconnection or simply to internal completion, the real transformation is already happening. He's being asked to step into a version of himself that trusts the mysterious, that honors the unexplainable, that knows that everything, absolutely everything, is connected by threads we can't see but can absolutely feel. Her name resonated with him today for a reason. And that reason might be revealed tomorrow or next week or in a moment 6 months from now when something she says or does makes him realize, this is what I was being prepared for This is what the universe was trying to show me. But until then, until the full picture emerges, there's only this. The resonance, the mystery, the knowing that nothing is random and everything is exactly as it should be. And somewhere, perhaps, she's feeling something too. A pull she can't name. A thought that won't quiet. A question forming in her heart. I wonder if he ever thinks of me anymore. And maybe, just maybe, the answer is about to reveal itself in ways neither of them can predict. The universe has spoken. Now it's waiting to see what they'll do with the message. And whatever happens next changes everything. If this resonates with you, if you've ever felt someone's name calling to you across time and distance, the story doesn't end here. There's something else you need to know. Something about what happens when two people finally respond to universe's call. But that's a conversation for another moment. For now, just know, you're exactly where you're meant to be. And so, is everyone whose name won't leave your mind.